because I'm not nationalized as yet.
Yeah, but when you do it, you have to
Mhm.
make sure that you have to file the lien as another entity. You can't file it as yourself filing it as yourself.
Oh, okay. So you could use another entity to file the lien,
Yes.
a LLC, a trust, stuff like that.
Anything in any entity other than yourself. Because when you file the lien, it's going to be against your estate. And it's got to be clear that there's a difference between your estate and the living self, your living self.
Okay. All right. Then. Thank you. I yield.
That's the biggest thing about this whole thing is that, and it's not something that you're going through. It's a lot of the students that I've realized that a lot of students are forgetting that a trust, an estate, a company, and yourself, your living self, are all different entities, and they're not the same. So don't mix them up. Don't get them. Be clear because law is very specific, and if they see that you're operating a certain type of way, then it can cause a problem. You don't want that problem. All right. So remember that you are the living flesh and blood, right? And then you have the estate, corporation, and trust. These are all different entities and have their own life of their own. Right? They're all instruments. Even yourself, because yourself is you still have the soul inside of you that's controlling that body. Remember that? Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, so everything on this planet is an instrument or a tool to use while you are being that soul. Okay? Everybody remember that. Please write it down as a note if you need to. It's very important because when you mix them up, then it's harder for you to answer difficult questions that you can probably answer yourself, to be honest, just by seeing it as that way. Thank you, Noble. Excellent. Do you have any more questions, by the way, Noble? Do you yield the floor? Noble, you still there? I don't know where you went. Throw your hands up. All right, we'll keep it going. We'll keep going. Who was next? Bev, I see your hand up. The floor is yours. Floor is yours, Bev.
Sorry, there was a little delay there, so I wasn't able to unmute.
All right, my apologies. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
That's all right. Okay, so yes, I have a couple of questions. I was having a look through this. Greetings, everybody, again. Sorry about my manners. I was having a look through the UCC that you've got up there yesterday, and I got a bit confused with who the debtor was. So, I mean, I have a case that I do want to actually put a lien on somebody, but is the debtor that person that I wish to lien?
Yes.
Okay. And then you were saying, did you say that we shouldn't have two debtors on the same UCC?
No, you can. That's why there's a section for additional debtors.
Oh, you can, right? Okay. So once you've got the 1, 2, whatever it is, debtors in there, these are the individuals you want to lien. If you go down the bottom, right, it says secured party.
Yeah.
Who is the secured party?
That'd be the one who's leaning the debtors.
So in that case, my trust, yes?
Yes. In your
Okay.
case, it would be your trust.
Right. Okay. And then where it says in number 4, what specifically are you putting in there? Are you putting just money that you make up, or is it something that is very specific that they owe? Because that's a very large number there.
Exactly.
So what is it? How is that number made up? And what would be in there?
This one, this example here,
Mhm.
is a lien from the trust to the estate, which is the birth certificate, right? And at the time when we were studying this, which was many, many years ago, we were like, wow, did you know that your energy actually costs money? Like, let me ask everybody here. Did you guys know that your energy costs money?
Mhm.
Right? A lot of people don't know that. So they will go to work, labor so many hours and all these kind of things, but don't know that their energy costs money. And this is why you're not supposed to do the income tax, because you've been issuing out so much watts of electricity every week when you work. Every week. And the value of your energy, I can't put a price to it. I can't come up to you, Bev, and go, hey, man, you know what? Your Bev is worth $100. That's an insult. I can't do that. So in this example is showing you that there is no number that you can put here. What we've learned from this is that I want you all to be or have discretion. You could put 40 zeros behind a million. You could put
40.
55 zeros behind a million, but it doesn't make sense because nobody has that.
That's right.
Who do you know, whether government or king of Zamunda, that has that?
You've been watching Coming to America.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Okay, so basically, I create whatever I believe to be fair. So maybe 150 million would be a bit more reasonable.
That's what I say too.
Okay, right. So I've got that, and then can I ask you to just go down a little bit?
All right. Sorry. Oh, there it goes. I don't know how far you want me to go.
No, it was only just to the next bit.
Right here?
It says, where's it gone? Optional filer reference. It says commercial security agreement, and then all those numbers. Now, where do those numbers come from?
Oh, see where it says commercial? You're talking about number 8.
Yes.
That was the actual SIN number or national number.
In my case, would it be my national insurance number?
Yes. And that number created the security agreement. When it comes to liens, let's say the Bell, your phone company says you owe them a bill, right? What they have, in order for them to collect from you, they have to have a security agreement.
So then
which is a contract. Most people call it a contract, but it's really a security agreement saying that you will pay this at this time of month, and you agree. You get what I mean? Right?
Yes, but if we are saying they owe us money,
thank you, baby.
Right.
Why would we then put a bill from them in number 8?
Because they're broke and they can only borrow from us. So it's not a bill. It's an invoice to what they've used of the credit that you've given to them.
Okay. All right.
But people are taking it in the reverse way by saying oh shoot, I think I owe them some fiat. And they go run out, we'll get a job, and then probably break their leg on the way to work and stuff like this. You know, not realize that bill doesn't mean pay.
But import them
It's actually
always
exactly the word bill, just like $1 bill,
Yeah.
right?
Like when it's soft,
Right. So it's the opposite. When you get when you go to a bank and they say we loaned you this amount. Well, how is that if the country is been on record time and time and over again as bankrupt?
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy. I remember I heard somebody in this video the other day. He was like, I think he was a comedian. He goes, why should I pay my bills when your bills is bigger than mine? You know, that they're into trillions of dollars, but they're worried about your $5.99.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are things to take consider. But yeah, that section is just to make reference to the data that's in the description part of this document, talking about the security agreement.
Okay, and just finally, number 9, the first debtor that's the same person that was at the top in number 1.
In number 9,
Andre Williams. Is that the same? Is that the same person that was at the top?
Number 9 is if you're adding more, because one thing about a lien is once you file it, it doesn't lock. You're allowed to go back and amend information to it. So number 9 is just an addendum where you're adding information to the original information above.
Right. And then finally, sorry to take so long, where do you actually file it?
Well, this particular one, you can file it in California. There's 12 Federal Reserve areas like New York, California, and so on and so on.
What about over here?
In the UK, a UCC, because it's universal, just like 2 + 2 is mathematical universal all over the planet, and everybody should know it's 4, no matter what language, right? So in the olden days, when there wasn't no federal places to file these, you'd file it in the courts. You'd file it at the court.
So you just go to any court?
Mm-hmm. You can file at the court as the old-fashioned way. If they have their own way of filing it, then they should give you that information on how they file a charge or a lien. But 99% of them were always filed in the courts first, a long time ago.
Is that any particular court? And I don't mean the name, but like a county court, a high court. What type of court?
You can do it in the high court and a county court.
You can do it in both. Okay, excellent.
Traffic court, no. Divorce court, family court, no.
Okay. It has to be filed. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
If you're in a family court situation and you filed a lien and all that stuff, that have gone through a civil procedures and filed in the court also. But it would be a different case. You get what I mean? It'd be a lawsuit, because that's what it is. It's really creating a lawsuit.
Okay. Now I've got some UCCs as part of my trust, putting liens on my items.
Okay.
So and they're in red.
That's the next thing I wanted to talk about. Because we're nationals. One thing we learned is that a lot of the things that they've done, a lot of the inside of Noble Drew Ali's literature, there's one thing he said would happen, and it is happening. He said one of the things he said is this. He said something about honoring the Constitution and go to those who know law. And we've done that. I've gone to those who know law. He also said that that they will teach you to be yourselves again. And I've always wondered for a long time what that meant. But during my experience in all of this, I truly now know what he was talking about. You see this form that you're looking at, the UCC one?
Mm-hmm.
All we need to do to change the format of it is actually copy the whole thing, but turn it in red. You see how it's in black?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's talking about the dead. And they did everything in black. And they got the people used to doing things in black.
So when we're making our submission, are we submitting the red or the black one?
You're submitting the black one, but keeping the red one for record.
Right. Okay. Thanks very much. I shall yield the floor now.
That's a very good question, because we haven't even really touched too much this year or in this semester on color and how documents should be written and issued, and who and what color you use when you're dealing with what type of entity at the time when you're expressing or exercising your nationality or exercising your living self. That's something that's going to be talked about a lot more in our semester when we do our workshop. The colors of things. What you're looking at right now is all in black and it's dead. Doesn't mean that it's not useful. It means that you can only talk to the dead. The dead can only talk to the dead. Let's put it that way. The dead can only talk to the dead. The living can only talk to the living. That sounds really easy and simple to remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what the world is. So you have to recognize what is dead and what's living, and make your correspondence go with that. So if I was talking to the dead right now, I would have all my documentation in black. Okay? We're going to be learning a lot about the different colors of writing and why it's so necessary. Blue writing when you do commerce, because when I told you about changing your ways, you're going to have to learn and really, really exercise the very fact that blue writing in commercial dealings is going to be necessary as a national. They're going to know the difference between who's a national or who's awake opposed to who's still asleep. And it's not putting a target on your back. It's just they want the world to be right. Believe it or not, as much evil has gone on this planet, even some of the evil people want this world to be right. It's crazy as it sounds, but it's true. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Some of the crazies want it to be correct. It's too crazy, even for them. All right. Thank you, Matriarch. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask.
No, that's fine. Thank you, because Willie and Jeremy are waiting. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Very, very welcome. Thank you also, Matriarch, for those questions, for all our learning experiences here in this class. Willie, I see your hand up. The floor is yours.
Okay, Grand Rising, everyone.
Right.
I would love Bev to say my name again with that lovely British accent. So beautiful, man. Bev, can you say my name again, please? Bev not giving me any time of the day. Anyway, I need to ask you a question, sir.
Mm-hmm.
So I was blessed to pay off my house in 6 years, and it has a lot of equity because there's no mortgage on my house.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to access some of those those equity. We're looking at maybe about $500,000. I would like to know, how do I go about this without putting my house at risk of defaulting if because I guess the main um way to get money out of your house is really to borrow against your house.
Mhm.
Because apart from if you sell it, and I don't want to sell because I don't want to get back into mortgage. So what's
Right.
the best way to get some money out of my house without getting into financial rut?
You already said one of the answers is to borrow against the house itself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to put that into a trust
Mm-hmm.
and have the trust have a lien against the house, and then have the trust have power over the house and bring that the trust to the bank and have the bank borrow against the house.
So, but most banks, once there is a lien against it, they would want to have first priority. That most banks will not allow that. They would want to have first dibs, just to, for argument's sake. So I think that would be difficult because they most times whether it's a maybe like if it's a car, yeah, they don't mind have second say in the house, but once it's the bank, usually they want to have the first say in case of anything.
That's true, but that's if there's a lien against the house that the another like bank or creditor trying to make a lien. In this case, it's the trust that's coming with it. So it's already like they already gave it value. And it also protects the what's it called? The promissory note when you do it. Because then did you know that every time you issue a check, a promissory note, even a dollar bill, you're supposed to put a lien against it?
No.
Yeah, you're supposed to. Yeah, because you're the one issuing it, and that's your investment.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you put out is your investment. Even when you deposit money or withdraw money out of a bank account,
Mm-hmm.
especially the withdrawals, you're supposed to put a lien against it.
Okay.
Because that's considered your income and also your investment. Anytime you put out money or throw out anything or issue anything or sign anything that has to do with commerce, you're issuing out bonds and different promissories,
Mm-hmm.
monetizable. But you're not the people are not taught to put a lien against it, so it doesn't continue to be sold. Just like yesterday when we were talking about, somebody asked me if the account's closed, and I said, well, the account can never be closed because they know to keep it open, and they continuously keep it open, keeping it open, and you didn't close it down and shut it down and put a lien against it to make sure that they don't continue to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Liens
but
are a lot.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying that liens are for a lot of things, and people are overlooking even that concept of liening everything that you issue, because you don't know you're the one that's always being the issuer and not the borrower. You're always the lender and not the borrower. They may say in their documentation that you're the borrower, but the actions are not that way when you're dealing with them. Substance for substance. I yield.
So that is the only way I can go about getting out the equity, to borrow against it and put a lien against it.
Mm-hmm.
Do I put the lien first, or do I borrow the money first?
Well, if it's coming from the trust, the lien would always be there. The trust also has the power to take the lien off if the bank is saying that the same thing you're saying, first in line, first in time, because they want to be first in line, first in time. Of course, who wouldn't, right? So then, yes, then the trust would take the lien off and has the power to do that because it was the trust that put it there in the first place.
Okay. So that mean, when are you going to teach us how to put the trust together?
Well, that's something that we'll do in the next semester as a part of the workshop. But there's certain workshops we want to do right now that's going to help the people on a massive scale right now when it comes to their debts and properties and things of that nature. A lot of people want to learn how to put the allodial titles together and how to do all of these things and file it on the land registry. And what does that look like? What do we look for? What do we expect? Kind of a thing when we're doing these actions.
Mm-hmm. By the way, yesterday I asked that I need to have a private talk with you. I don't have your contact. Is it possible for you to give me your private contact with over the phone now? Or how do you go about giving your private contact? I need to touch base with you.
Send an email to office or my office and attention to me, to Cameron.
Send an email.
Yes. Attention to me.
What's your email address?
Morehouse Law. MOOR House USE Law LAW @gmail.com. Send it to the attention of Cameron, and I'll get it right away.
Oh, good. Morehouselaw@gmail.com.
Correct.
Oh, good. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, Jeremy. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. Peace again to everyone. Thank you, Noble. Yeah, I just wanted to get some clarification on what we just spoke about, because when I hear you speak, I know this is a class for nobles and for us to gain our nationality. So when you say stuff, for me, I need a clarification, because when you say trust, I currently have a trust. I have a discretionary, non-guarantor, simple spendthrift trust. So it's also irrevocable. So when you say trust, would my family trust as I have right now be a trust that I could use to put a lien on stuff? Or would it have to be a trust done through my nationality?
First, you said it was an irrevocable trust. So
yeah.
That's would have to change, because irrevocable means that I could put it into a trust. I could put as much assets inside of the trust, but I can't move them out or monetize them in any kind of way. You see how Willie was asking about the house, right?
Mm.
If he had put that house in an irrevocable trust, he could not bring it to the bank and use it as collateral against, or to use as a loan against the house to get that money. You get what I mean? So you'd have to change the status of that.
But it's also discretionary. So I actually do have stipulations in there where I can move stuff in and out of the trust.
Well, it can't be assets more than that have to deal with cash or monetizable assets. You can move things in and out of the trust, but you can't do business with it in that way. The discretionary parts, I'd have to actually sit down and read those parts. But to my knowledge, once it's an irrevocable trust, it can't do much.
Yeah, well, from my knowledge, the one that I have is not the same as your typical irrevocable trust.
Right. Okay, I hear you.
So my next question would be, I say that to say, you said because I'm still a part of the corporation, I won't be able to place a lien, because I can't place a lien on the estate when I don't have a nation, right?
That's right.
As it stands right now, like my car, for instance, I just bought a car and I have car payments. I took a loan, of course, to pay it.
Right.
Would I be able to lien that corporation and take back control of the vehicle?
I would lien the vehicle and put that into the trust. Now, if I'm going after the company now, it's because I want the title and the promissory note back that they're supposed to give me after 90 days that paid for the vehicle itself.
Okay, so that's exactly what I would want to do. So how would I go about that? Would I be using this UCC form? And
yes, you'll be using this UCC form to create what is called a perfected claim.
Okay.
A perfected claim comes with the claim itself and the actual lien, which is this.
Okay.
Anytime a collector is calling you and they do not have a perfected claim, that means they don't have a claim at all. A perfected claim comes with a claim and a lien.
Okay, then. So moving forward, in order to file that, would it just be this form, or would I have to do a writ with it or a special type of papers?
If you're putting it into the trust, it would just trust filling this out, and that's it, and filing it. If you were, let's say you were suing the bank for whatever reason, right? Then you'd put a lien against the bank and then send them a notice and a statement of claim, which would be the filing of the, in a nutshell, it would be the lawsuit filed. The statement of claim, the notice, and the lien, the notice of lien. Okay? All three of those things would be on record, and that would start the case. And then if when the case comes to near the end where we're talking about who wins, then you would have already filed how much the lien was in the first place that needs to be satisfied in the case. Make sense, everybody?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm still a bit confused, but I guess as we go along,
okay,
I'll grasp it more. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. When you have a trust or you have an estate, right? The reason why we say that you should nationalize is because when people don't nationalize and do this, they're doing it because they're stateless. And if the law wanted to come at them, because like I've been saying all day, that they're criminals. They are criminals, right? Now, let's say you didn't have your nationality and you were just doing this stuff, and they wanted to come at you with public law, and you're not defending yourself with trust law and treaty law. You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'll get at you more easier if you were stateless. If you're stateless, then they're going to do to you what they did to Heather, whatever her name is, when she figured out how to deal with the 1099 and how to discharge a debt. When she figured it out, she started helping everybody, helping her friends, and even putting it on YouTube and teaching the public and the people about it. But not realizing that, yeah, you can do it, but you have to have a status, and it's got to be on record. If it's not on record, then they can come in and do what they do to people like that and lock them up, make them look like a pile of garbage, and convince the public and the people that you never do that you're not supposed to do these things. And then you're going to look at it and go, well, you can go to jail for this stuff, and not really realize it's not about the jail. It's about your status, and you're not protecting yourself with even your own treaties to do merchants, to do merchant business, to do travel, and all these things on the land. We have contracts. It's unfortunate, but that's how the world works, is that everything's under a contractual agreement. and that the contracts cannot be violated. Contracts is the law.
Okay, then.
You get what I'm saying, right?
So I guess my next question would be next semester, will we be able to go through the full steps on becoming a national?
Oh yeah, we won't forget.
I'm chomping at the bits right now, man. I'm ready to go.
All right. We'll look out for that and have a fresh notebook ready for that. And we'll go through it detail for detail on how to nationalize, because part of the workshop is to nationalize and to show you how to do it with a business.
Okay.
With a business. It's very important. It has nothing to do with me owning it or anything. It has to do with the fact that the jurisdiction needs to be changed and corrected for your business and any business to thrive for whatever length they want it to. You ever notice that when it comes to Black businesses, and I'll say Black connotatively because I'm talking to everybody, right? Or melanated. You ever notice? Can anybody here name a business that's been around for 150 years? That's from us. And we've been on this planet for billions of years. Billions of years. Can anybody name a business right now that's been around for 150 years that belongs to us 100%?
Nope. No, I can't name one.
Can't name one, can you?
Nope.
Right? Can anybody in the class? Anybody? 150 years, because there's businesses that are here that are European that they can say that they've been around for at least 50 to 100 years. 100 years. Right? See, even in the class, we have 101 people here. 101 students today, listeners. Right? And that question, nobody has one. Nobody has an answer. So that should let you know something's wrong there. Something's wrong with there. Why is there something wrong? Well, I can tell you one of the reasons is because every time we open up a business, we keep doing it on the wrong side of the fence. We keep registering it to them. So we might as well give it to them. And that's pretty much what we did when we do that. Not understanding what registry means and how that works. So that's going to be one of the workshop, or part of the workshop, is to have that happen so we can have a community, a thriving community that works.
All right, Noble Cam, I appreciate your time. I yield.
Ashe, thank you for your time too. Also, thank you for that question, Noble. Very good question. All right. David P., I see your hand up.
Greetings, Grand Rising. Just wanted to make a quick comment. I think as it relates to all of this, and I can only say from my experience of being here for a little bit over a year, is that it's not necessarily that it's difficult to do. It's, I think, the idea of being out on your own, because when you take yourself out of out of their jurisdiction by nationalizing, it's almost like you're in the pool by yourself if you're floating devices and you're asked to swim. And the nearest lifeguard is at the edge of the pool. They might not be that far away, but it's still you in the pool. And even though you've kind of got your training and so on, it's still you, the pool, and the water. And you have to do it yourself. And where you might have had a flotation device before, like that ring around you, you had help and so on, it's different. And water is different to land. And a lot of people, I think mentally it feels like you're not necessarily out to sea, but yeah, because you're seeing that a lot of things that we would have had to rely on the government to do, or hire an attorney to do, or hire an accountant to do, or go down to the government office to get a passport, or all of those kind of things you now have to do yourself. And in a lot of cases, a lot of people actually aren't even good at doing this stuff in public. We're like, even going to get a passport, which sounds like a difficult thing. You usually have to get help to get that done. When you're now traveling, how do you go get the passport, and how do you go get the visa and all of that? And that's intimidating even as a public person. Now you're asking people to do this for themselves when they weren't even sure how to do the normal stuff from that perspective. So I think it's also a psychological block on that level. So it isn't so much that you can't get it done, it's just that it feels like you're out alone doing it, even if you have help. And I also understand that is also one of the prerequisites to being a national, and the ancestors are kind of auditing us to say that we got to prove that we can do it on our own. But I think on a lot of levels, it still feels to some people that is, after you do it, I still have to wait and feel like, I should get a response. It's like when people send their documentation in and they expect to get a response, because that's normally what happens in the public. But when you're saying, well, not getting a response is a response, and that's the correct response. And that's different. It's significantly different. It is a general comment that I wanted to make. And then the other thing, as it relates to the people who are talking about the trust, I would suggest that at a minimum you read the Weiss Concise Trustee Handbook, either the 2008 or 2006 version. You'll probably get a better grounding as to which trust you want, and how a trustee, what mindset a trustee needs to have to operate a trust, because a trust also requires a mindset as well, because a private trust operates entirely in the private, and it forces you to do a lot of the things that Noble Cameral is asking you to learn how to do. To have a trust, you have to operate in the private. Anyway, that was just a comment I wanted to make. I yield the floor.
Ashe, thank you for that, noble David. All right. So take notes to what Noble David has said, and start putting yourselves together, because that's what this world's all about. You heard me say it all day today, that the world is gone back into your hands. Well, it's exactly what he's saying too, is we are so used to having these services and attorneys and these things that really and truly you're supposed to be that. You're supposed to be operating as the creditors, the trustees, and the landlords. Like, there's so much duties that you have. You want it all back yourself? Remember, you said we all sat together. We want our own. We want our own stuff. Well, guess what? Then you got to do your own stuff. When it comes to doing your own stuff collectively, it's back to square one where we are right here. Creating and learning law, understanding the processes and what is truth, what is jurisdiction, and sticking to the, not de facto, but de jure jurisdiction. All right. Thank you, David. Once again, Netter, peace and love. Thank you for helping with the moderation. Is there any last things you want to say or anything you want to say to the people or anything? The floor is yours. No? Shy? All right. Well, thank you all for coming to our class today. In the before we go, where you see in number 4 of this document, this one is about putting a lien against the estate. And like I said, there's no number that I can really say for you to put there, but it should be in this format, the way you see it, where it's written in letters and numbers. All right. Put the value there and even the reference number to the estate. Right. The rest of the document is optional, whatever. It's an option. And the rest of it that we were looking down here is the amendments. Study this document. If you found any difficulties or anything that you stumbled on and you have questions, feel free to ask that question in our next session. We'll continue this because it doesn't stop here. I got to show you how to use these liens and what they're for. And when you can use them and how to use them. All right. So everybody, I hope you had an amazing weekend with us and that you learned something very, very valuable that you can teach and expound and explore and send on to the future to build our children, because our children need it the most. Matriarchs, it's your time to wake up. I've said it more than once. The world is going back into your hands. Be that power that we've always looked for. Be that mothers and fathers of civilization that we talked about today. Go to bed tonight thinking and meditating on greatness, on how great you really, truly, all of you are. The more you do that, the more greatness will come to you. I hope you enjoyed it. Once again, if you're new to the class, feel free to come back and study with us. Peace and love, everybody. I hope you had an amazing day today or evening, wherever you are, and a magical, magical rest of the week. Bye-bye for now. We'll be back next week with more studying, more erudition, and more questions to be answered and remedied. Peace and love, everybody. I love you so much. I can spread my arms around you. I would. I'd grab every one of you and kiss you all and hug you all and give you a great, great energy. Peace and love to you all for participating with us this evening. We'll talk again. Bye-bye for now.